G'day there guys, frequently gets in fights with hobos over pizza crust here. It's your main man Markee and welcome back to another episode of r/Am I the A-hole. Now if you bloody love today's bloody good content, I want you to smack that like button, sit back, relax, chuck a prawn on the barbie, and have a bloody good time. Thank you. Posted by user The Spiciest Bagel. Titled, Am I the A-hole for telling my brother I met his new girlfriend at an AA meeting? So my brother started dating this new girl, and I realized I recognized her from Alcoholics Anonymous. I'm not an addict, but my lawyer recommended I attend some AA meetings to help strengthen an ongoing case against me. I know it's her because I remember her very unique name from the AA meeting, and she also talked for a very long time. I thought it was important to mention it to my brother because I'm worried about her as a partner to him. In AA, she mentioned that not only did she use hard drugs, but that also she feels like she can't control herself. She also admitted to drugs making her verbally abusive and unstable emotionally, and at the time she was not sober. I know my brother, and I know that he holds himself and his partners to a high standard, and that he hates drama in his relationship. I told him what she said, and he broke up with her, and she basically stalked me and also called me an untrustworthy tramp who ruined her experience with AA. Honestly, I think I was just trying to help my brother out, but some of my friends think it was messed up for me to tell him. But I think it's better for him to know what kind of person she is ahead of time. Am I the a-hole? Edits, to clear some things up because people are assuming a lot. I'm fighting my case because I believe the legal system is corrupt, but I want to be accountable in other ways. I don't regularly drink and drive. I don't even drink at all. The night was the worst night of my life, and I would take it back in a heartbeat. All I'm asking is opinions on how I should have handled the situation with this girl. Not to talk about whether I deserve to rot in jail because of my DUI. I do not condone drinking and driving, and think it's a very serious crime, and I understand the gravity of my actions. I admit I read some comments just to get a little more insight on this one before I did. And yeah, this first comment talks about, did you forget the second A stands for anonymous? Also, no excuse for DUI. What the hell is that? You continued to dig yourself deeper into a hole the further you went. I applaud you for your honesty, and I really love it when people are completely transparent on this one. But in this regard, it didn't help your case, and it didn't help me sympathize with you any more than when you started this. There's obviously some agenda going on here. You look down on this woman who's going out for help. She wants help, that's why she's in this group, and yet now you've completely undone all of that. I can understand that you would do things like this to protect your family members because you don't want to see them be abused and everything. But in this instance, you've just shown us that's the pot calling the kettle black. You DUI'd. You put other people in danger. Should we avoid you as well? And you are going to Alcoholics Anonymous not to get help, but to prove that the system is corrupt? You're fighting some demons yourself here. What are you doing? You're the a-hole. Cerebral Assassin says, you're the a-hole. Did you forget to mention the second A stands for anonymous? Most go to these things to get help, not to try and make a fake showing for court because they can't get a DD. I can't get over how this person just decided that there is nothing they can learn. Even if you are not an addict, you think you can't learn something from people actively trying to overcome something difficult and make themselves better? Really, OP? You don't find that admirable? You'd rather ruin the sanctity of the meeting and put their anonymity and recovery at risk. You're the a-hole. Yeah, 56 says, you're the a-hole. You are a gigantic a-hole. Do you not know the definition of the word anonymous? It is completely wrong to reveal anything people talked about in those meetings. That is their safe space, and you just violated it. I just have to comment again. You are a drunk who endangered others' lives by drinking and driving, hence your own DUI. But you have the nerve to judge her and tell your brother things she revealed in an anonymous meeting? You have a lot of nerve. The a-hole here for sure. And Karath Solace says, you're the a-hole. You expect us to not hold a DUI over your head, and you went and did exactly that to somebody else? Nothing like holding somebody's past mistakes over their head when they're trying to get help. And now on to the update. My reception last time was not very positive, and I realized that my approach at the time wasn't the best. So in this update, I'm going to try and be emotionless as possible and just give you guys the facts. I showed my brother the thread. We talked about it. He told me he thinks I have a drinking problem. That was hard to hear. He also reached out to his ex, and I don't know the results of that. I reread my replies. The stories about drunk drivers killing loved ones hit me the hardest. I felt a lot of guilt realizing what I did, and went into a depression spiral. I think everything I bottled up came out, and I quit my job. I emailed the AA group leader with a lengthy apology. She was upset, of course, but was very kind. I'm banned from AA, but she matched me with someone to talk to. I texted my brother's ex with an apology and an offer to meet up in person. She didn't reply for a few days. Eventually she did and said that she acknowledges, but also went in on me and went into detail about how much pain I caused her. She said she cannot forgive me yet. I talked to my lawyer, and we're trying to figure out the logistics of a guilty plea without conviction, because he thinks that what I did in AA may affect my case. I'll likely get my license revoked and have to pay a fine. I'm currently jobless, and I'm probably going to move back in with my parents until I can be better. There is also a tweet going around saying someone knows me and outed me to my brother. This did not happen. This person was trying to capitalize on a messed up situation for internet points. My brother and I have never met nor interacted with this person. At the moment, I am still very depressed. I'm trying to right my wrongs, but I don't think I can ever do that. However, I think that this was going to come eventually, and the thread didn't make me depressed. It was the consequences of my own actions. Thank you for helping me see the pain I was causing before it was too late. Edit. I'm not banned from AA in general, just the AA meeting that I went to. And Sinker12 comments, my mum's a recovering alcoholic. She used to drive drunk all the time. Got her license revoked, paid heavy fines, none of it was getting through to her. Finally, she took AA seriously, and she's been sober for I think 7 years. You've done the hard part. Not saying it's going to be easy from now on, but you seem to have hit your rock bottom. Now you just have to find a way to climb back up. Get some counseling for your feelings of depression. That can often help with alcoholism too. I'm glad you're moving back in with your parents. Have them hold you accountable to stopping drinking and getting help. I mentioned my mum to say it gets better. It truly does. You did bad things, but that doesn't make you a bad person. We call people a-holes on this page all the time, but in truth, most of them are just humans who make jokes. You've made a mistake. You've done what you can to fix it. Now you work to prevent more. Great job doing this. Seriously. OP, I truly commend you for listening to everyone and taking the time and consideration to accept your mistakes and go on the process of learning from them. That takes true strength, and not everyone has that. It will get better as long as you make the effort to do so. I wish you the best of luck. Sam Renee says, I still don't think you understand the severity of your actions. You deserve jail time whether or not you think the justice system is broken. You deserve to lose your license. Literally anything the judge sentences you to, you deserve. People who don't ever drink are not drinking and driving. I've worked with people in recovery. My professional work has been all related to AOD, and the crap you pulled makes me so ragey. And Chocolate Soy Milk says, I just got home from a 30-day stint in rehab on Tuesday, 35 days clean today, and this post and the original break my heart. Your view of her and her alcoholism/addiction versus yours mirrors so many of the stories I've heard. My crap ain't as bad as yours, so I don't really need to be here. And it's denial at its finest. Being open, vulnerable, and accepting are so important in those meetings and in recovery in general. Her story was not one for you to tell. It would kill me if any of my fellow rehab mates outed me. I hope you understand and get the help you need. You obviously have a problem, so don't give up on AA and find another home group. Just work through it like they say, one day at a time. Our next post is by user Babe Miller, titled, Am I the a-hole for calling my mother-in-law by her last name instead of grandma? So my relationship to my mother-in-law, Mrs. Smith, is crap. She's cold to me because I kept my last name, Miller. She says I'll treat her like family when she wants to be part of it. She calls me Jake's friend. My husband Jake loves me all the same. He doesn't bother standing up to her because it's a way for her to start a fight. We rarely talk to her. She makes no effort, so neither do we. Jake and I had discussed whose last name our kid would have prior to the birth. He initiated the conversation. I'd left the decision up to him. After the birth, the families visited at the hospital. Jake asked what our son's last name was going to be. I told him it was still his choice. He smiled and said, "Little baby Miller. I like it." He filled out the paperwork. Mother-in-law looked livid. She started asking questions, but my dad started crying. Both of my brothers have died. Dad has never mentioned it, but I know passing the last name down makes him happy. Neither Jake or I anticipated this, nor did it for this reason, but it was sweet all the same. After she left, mother-in-law let people know what I had done, and how now she wouldn't feel like a grandmother. A month later, a sister-in-law announced her pregnancy. Mother-in-law said, "Finally, I'll feel like a grandmother." Again, my husband didn't say anything, and neither did I. Our son started talking. During a video call where my mother-in-law did nothing but gush about sister-in-law's daughter, who was adorable, Jake was trying to get the baby to talk. Son lost interest. I took son and Jake and let mother-in-law ramble some more before ending the call. Mother-in-law said she wanted to say bye to son. Jake turned to the phone. Mother-in-law said, "Say bye to grandma. Make son say it. I'm grandma now." I snapped inside, so I said, "Bye, Mrs. Smith." And my mother-in-law's face dropped. Jake turned the camera away and said bye quickly. He laughed, said I was awesome, but we better put our phones on silent. The only call and text I responded to was the other sister-in-law, who said I didn't need to go out of my way to be nasty. That mother-in-law went around saying how excited she was about son, which was a lie. That her initial comments were understandable because I talked Jake out of tradition. I did not! And that I'd hurt mother-in-law. Mother-in-law needed time to adjust. I said, "Thank you for your input." Mother-in-law texted eventually, saying I'd really upset her. I said, "Here I was, trying to respect the importance you feel to last names. You've said multiple times I'm not family because of my last name. You made it more than clear that that's the reason my child doesn't make you feel like a grandma. Now you'll be known as Mrs. Smith." She said sorry. She didn't mean it that way, but that my dad's reaction was an example of how important last names are. I now had to forgive her because family. It made me angrier that she brought my dad into this, and I can't tell if I'm being the a-hole or not. Yeah, I'm gonna go with not the a-hole for this one. She obviously slighted you from the get-go, can't accept that, people don't always take their last name. Sometimes you can put it as a spouse's last name. Yes, it's uncommon, but it's not unheard of. I don't know where this grandma gets off on creating this drama, and that's definitely not a visual image I wanted to give myself there, and I'm sorry for everyone that had to visualize that. But seriously, get off your high horse, mother-in-law. It's a name. The kid is still your grandkid. Where? He's not got my last name, so he's not really my grandchild. Jesus Christ. I just have no words. I'm gonna go with not the a-hole. That's just too much. Whatever 8 says, "Your husband is right. That was awesome. F that noise. Not the a-hole, stick to your guns on this. When you play stupid games, you win stupid prizes, and she is the Showcase Showdown champion now. Too Tall to Function says, not the a-hole. If she needs her son's biological son to have the same last name as her to feel a connection or commitment to him, then she's not a good person. She's superficial and vapid. She doesn't get to shun you and treat you and your son like strangers for however long, and then turn around and demand empathy or an apology from you. Tangled Twisted says, not the a-hole. She kept pushing it and pushing it. You had every right to react that way. She is definitely the a-hole here. I will say, if you guys choose to have and want a relationship with her and the rest of his family, then it may be a good idea not to push the Mrs. Smith over Grandma with your son in the future now that you've made your point. With style, I might add. And she has gone out of her way to ensure that you felt uncomfortable and were not part of her family. She even went so far as to give your son the same treatment. She even said, "Make him call me Grandma. I'm a grandma now," as if she wasn't before. You simply went along with what she's already been enforcing, and that's on her, not on you. She's reaping what she's sown, and she doesn't like it. Not the a-hole, and thank God your husband's on your side. Sounds like he knows what she's like and not only respects you, but considers you in all his decision-making. That's a rarity in this Reddit. You've got all the family you need, and she shouldn't get the benefits of calling you and your son family until she makes the effort to include you in it, along with a proper apology. And OP replies, he's a great guy. I really did luck out. I told him his relationship with his mother is his decision because I don't care if she likes me. I do want to revisit it now, though given our son is now involved. We seriously never see her or hear from her. I don't think Jake is going to miss her anyway. He really only likes his dad. Honestly, it sounds like Jake knows her well enough to know he doesn't want to have a typical mother-son relationship with her. She also doesn't seem to be making any effort on her end to maintain the relationship with him, only getting upset when you kept your last name, and when he made the decision to give your son your last name. I'm an outsider here, so I'm not privy to the details, but it seems like her love is, very conditional? Safe to say that. I think it's why sister-in-law texted me. She gets money out of mother-in-law for standing by her. Next time, ask if she's paid by the text or by the word. Thank you. This made me laugh out loud. And OP put some edits in their post. And the first one says, Edit. Thank you again to everyone who gave awards. It was very kind of you, and I do appreciate it. Jake is home, and I had him read the post. Some of you really cracked him up. Some made good points, which we have discussed. Apparently, he also got a text from his sister and asked how much money she got from mother-in-law for telling me off. He also made sure to tell sister-in-law who had the baby that we hold nothing against her, should mother-in-law try to spin it that way. She knows mother-in-law better, thankfully. Jake would also like to tell those who are telling me I should take his name that he disagrees, and he's not about the sexism you're spewing. Though he does now want to send mother-in-law a Christmas card from the Millers. Edit 2, you guys are being great. I woke up to many more responses than I anticipated. Thank you. Just to clarify, my son will not be calling mother-in-law Mrs. Smith. They barely have a relationship as he's still a baby and mother-in-law makes no effort. After some discussion, Jake is going to take time to figure out what he wants from mother-in-law and if he thinks that's possible. And now on to the update. Jake and I appreciated all the support, though Jake wants the DMers to know that he's okay with me taking his balls because he loses everything anyway. This brought him a good chuckle before the serious talk. We both also wanted to be very clear that taking his name was never on the table, nor does he care. I also do want to say that I know how great Jake is, though since the post he's been demanding I thank the world's best husband anytime he does something for me. His humor is my favorite part of him. Now, because it's his mum, I let him decide how to handle it. We both did agree that our son would obviously know mother-in-law as his grandma, but he wouldn't have a relationship with her unless she addressed the blatant favoritism. That conversation did not go well. She denied having favorites, lied about pretty much everything, then told me the compromise she was willing to make was that if she had to accept me for who I am, being that I kept the name, I'd have to accept her for who she is. I didn't respond before Jake ripped into her about how she didn't get to make demands, that she was critical of me, assumed things that he already told her weren't true, that this conversation wasn't happening because we didn't accept who she was. He said if he ever heard her make another comment about the Miller last name, he'd take it. She started crying about losing her family, and he hung up. One sister-in-law, who was mother-in-law's favorite child, sent me a nasty message, including the line, "I wonder if your dead brother would be happy that you used him to break mother-in-law's heart." I sent the screenshot to mother-in-law and said, "Call off your dog, or I'll take her to the pound." I've sent a screenshot of that to anyone who has tried to question me. If they tried to defend mother-in-law and sister-in-law, I blocked them. Word got around quickly about this, and now sister-in-law is all but cut out of father-in-law's side of the family. Even father-in-law has come down on her hard. Sister-in-law is desperately trying to apologize and fix this. She even allowed Jake to read everything mother-in-law sent to her about my last name. I tried to read some of it, but stopped. I don't want to be angry. I'm taking time to decide how to handle this. I am happy to be done with mother-in-law. She never really bothered me. It does take a lot to get to me, but I don't want her behavior and attitudes being normalized with my son. I wasn't prepared for motherhood to have such a strong effect. Jake did admit he gave son my last name for my dad. Years ago, my dad asked if Jake was going to propose to me. Jake said if my dad wanted to know, he would give him a heads up, but he wouldn't ask for his blessing or permission. In many more words, Dad said he never had any expectations of that. He didn't worry about gender roles, though he was glad he would gain a son again. Jake didn't feel obligated. He just wanted to do that for my dad. Sincerely, thank you all. Edit. Hey everyone. I didn't expect to wake up to the amount of messages I did. I appreciate them all. Jake takes both the compliments and the insults, as do I. I also want to clear up some questions. Yes, this is real, but I'm not going to prove that. Mother-in-law took father-in-law's name. They are divorced. They have 2 daughters and 2 sons. Brother-in-law intends to have children and will pass on the Smith name. Sister-in-law has a daughter who has sister-in-law's husband's name. Sister-in-law also took his name. The youngest sister-in-law is the one who sent the text. I'm not going to apologize for how I spoke to mother-in-law after she encouraged her daughter to use my brother like that. There is text proof that mother-in-law did this. Sister-in-law showed Jake. I have no intentions on seeking therapy or a relationship with either of them, and that's the most that can be asked of me in this upset of a state. If and when we have a second child, I always intended for them to get Jake's last name. Jake knows and is cool with it. Jake is willing to be called by my last name, but I doubt he'll actually change it. Neither of us are willing to do paperwork out of spite either. Yes, I still cry remembering my dad cry about this. I always assumed Jake did this for this reason. He really is a great man. And in the comments, Spargos says, "You've got yourself a great husband. Not a lot of people could stand their ground like he did. Good luck to both of you and your little son." He's always been able to stand up for himself. I won't say it didn't get to him, especially what his sister did, but he just runs it out. He may also make himself a World's Best Husband t-shirt if he sees more compliments, but he does deserve it. And thank you. Would he consider changing his name to Miller, or would that just put more gasoline on the fire? Yes, he would, but he tries to not let anger make his decisions. I also don't think he would because of the paperwork required, and he does everything he can to avoid it, including bribing me to do it. That line, call your dog off or I'll take her to the pound. So bloody good. I didn't mean it violently either. Just keep your yapping dog in your yard or I'll make it someone else's problem. Sister-in-law is still yapping, just more whiny now. I don't think she realized her family would draw a line in the sand. The majority aren't necessarily taking our side, but it's clear they're staying out of it because defending her isn't really an option. She had it coming. She should have known that you wouldn't just sit back and take her crap. Well, I'm sure her mother compensated her well for it. Sister-in-law never really liked me much anyway. This has been mentioned twice now, so I gotta ask, what's the deal with the money angle? Does mother-in-law pay for support? How monetary is her relationship with her daughter and others? This is super concerning, to be honest. She just takes her son on shopping sprees when sister-in-law has pleased her. Sister-in-law gets much nicer gifts than everyone else and is randomly, but not actually randomly, treated to gifts. Like how she happened to get a really nice new car when she started refusing to see father-in-law during his time. It's very concerning for someone else, I'm sure, but my sister-in-law is not and will not be my problem, ever. Hold on, your mother-in-law and father-in-law aren't even married anymore? She's decided to nuke her own family over her ex-husband's last name? She just kept saying, it's the way it's done. That's good enough for her, I guess. And Titus Favonius says, F your sister-in-law. My brother died last year, and if someone said some crap like that to me, I'd never speak to them again. She won't be hearing from me for a long time. I am livid, especially after some of the texts I saw. Jake says that I get to decide how to handle it, even though she's his sister. I don't think he ever thought that she'd do that, but he's disappointed all the same. I'm so sorry. I lost my brother at the age of 16, and I've been begging my husband to let me name our hypothetical firstborn son after him. What sister-in-law did is cruel, and I hope you put her in a very long time out. Mother-in-law is an ass too. Glad your husband has a shiny spine for you and Bub. I wanted my son to have his own first name, but I demanded the middle name by one of my brothers. When we have another, the other name will be used. And the last comment by Grumble Muffin, happy for you both. Y'all sounded like you're both focused on protecting and nurturing what's important, your son and each other. Our son will always come first. We don't always agree what that means, but in this case, we both know it means no bullcrap from family. I wasn't ready to be as passionate about it as I was, as Jake initially didn't see the big deal. But he listened to my anger, and frankly, isn't attached enough to his mother to care. Sister-in-law hurt him more, admittedly. G'day there guys, and that's the end of today's episode. I do hope you enjoyed it, and were entertained by today's bloody good content. As always, I want to do a quick shout out and a thank you to all my channel members and Patreon subscribers. Your beautiful faces and names will be up on screen right now. Haven't forgot about you guys, sorry I was taking a little break there. So yeah, if you see yourself, give yourself a pat on the back. If you want to be on this screen, there's links down in the description below where you can sign up and help support the channel and all future projects that I'm going to be doing on this one. With all that said, I hope you guys have an amazing day, night, sleep, whatever you're up to. I'll see you in the next episode, and I do hope you enjoy it. Thank you.